gentlemen, we have a distinguished personality among us, and he happens to be our next speaker. First of all, can we all put our hands together and welcome Swamiji Gauranga Das, who is among us. And with your permission, Swamiji, I want to read out your profile. You can feel free to come onto the stage. Swami Gauranga Das is an environmental leader and has done his BTech from IIT Bombay. As the president of Govardhan Eco Village, he has developed a retreat center there consisting of eco-friendly cottages, Ayurvedic wellness center, nursery and yogashala, to name a few. Recently, he led Govardhan Eco Village to win the United Nations Award for Excellence in Innovation in Tourism from UNWTO. First time India has ever won this recognition in the NGO sector. GEV has also received numerous awards, to name a few: International Green World Award, International Built Environment Award, International Green Apple Award. He is also the trustee of GBC College of Leadership Development, ISKCON's official leadership school, where potential candidates are trained for positions of top leadership. He is also serving as the Global Duty Officer in ISKCON and is the Divisional Director of Devotee Care and Temple Development, Systems and Administration Departments of ISKCON worldwide. We are so honored and humbled, sir, that you're here with us today.
Swamiji, before you get started, we have a welcome procedure. So please, can I request Suri Sitaraman from Hyderabad to please come up and honor the Swamiji with a shawl. Yes, sir.
Give a warm welcome by clapping, please, all of us. Thank you. Please go ahead, sir. Thank you.
ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. It's indeed an honor and privilege to be here amongst all of you, and I've been requested by Mr. Narayan, my cousin Shekhar, to speak on the art of discipline. And I must confess that this is one of the first corporate programs where I see such a disciplined dress code. So I must congratulate you for that. So some of you may be wondering, how is a person dressed in these clothes and coming from a spiritual background, how is he going to be relevant to the finance sector? So, in fact, there is a lot of intrigue about what Indian spirituality, Vedic spirituality is all about. And in general, people across the world are very much intrigued by our tradition and culture. I'll just begin with an example. There was a traveler who came to Mumbai for the first time. He was from another country. He decided to eat his breakfast in one of the famous Udupi restaurants. You must be aware of the Udupi restaurants. So this was many years ago, where they used to have food given out on banana leaves. So he was never used to this. He started eating the idli, vada, chutney, everything. And he didn't know what to do with the banana leaf. He started eating that also. On the way out, the manager asked him, "Sir, how was the food?" And this traveler said, "The food was great, the salad was very stiff." Practically speaking, when I travel all over the world, people have questions about how, with such variety in tradition, such variety in cultures and languages, you're all able to stay together. Dear friends, one of the most important reasons is our ancient great souls have given us the art of discipline. We are trained right from beginning to know our boundaries, our Lakshman Rekha, the very basis for relationships and prosperity. So I'll begin with a beautiful shloka from Bhagavad Gita. This was spoken by the most expert archer in the whole universe at that time. You know him, Arjuna. And he's speaking to Krishna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. It's very interesting that Gita was spoken on a battlefield, not in a temple, not in a satsang bhavan, not in the middle of some puja, when 18 crore soldiers were standing and assembled and ready to fight. Krishna wanted to demonstrate two things. One, the knowledge of Gita is relevant for a man of this world, so therefore I choose Arjuna, who's married, has children, he's a king, he's an archer, he's an expert, he's skillful. And second, the knowledge of Gita is so crucial, so critical, and it is so powerful for you to control your own self and discipline your own self and increase your own productivity and efficiency, that even before such a critical war, Arjuna is able to prioritize some time to hear the Gita. So therefore, it is a message for each one of us that if we find something is a priority to invest in, we do it. I was giving Gita out in trains in Mumbai. I showed the Gita to one gentleman, and then he said to me, "Are you giving the Gita for free?" I said, "No sir, this Gita is for 70 rupees. He said, "Krishna spoke the Gita to Arjuna free. Why you are charging?" It was a valid argument. I replied, "Sir, Krishna spoke the Gita to Arjuna in Kurukshetra. This is Mumbai. I am taking 70 rupees transport charge." As Sunil sir beautifully explained, when we know our priorities, then we do not mind investing, however difficult it may be. So therefore I am beginning with this most important cue, that Arjuna is finding time to hear from Krishna, although Arjuna is expert in the art of archery. Because technology is not everything, machines are not everything, systems are not everything. If the man behind the technology, the man behind the machine is not inspired, is not perfectly in tune and harmony with himself, what will you do? So therefore, discipline is the refining fire by which talent becomes ability. And many of you may be aware that it comes from the Latin, which means instruction, teaching, learning. Discipline is about having an attitude of learning and improving. So Arjuna, he had learnt everything to learn from the institute of Dronacharya as far as archery is concerned. But Arjuna still had many things to learn about controlling his own inside mind. And that's a very important principle. There's a beautiful story about how we feel that we have done our best, but still we do not see the result. How many of you have experienced this? You feel, I have done my best, I have given my everything, but still I feel that somehow the reciprocation is not proper. There is a story of this cola company. They were trying to distribute cool drinks in Middle East. So they had this big, huge advertising billboards, and their branding manager had come up with a great plan. So they had 3 slides in that presentation, and they had put it up all across the Middle East. In the first slide, in the first photo, they showed someone on a camel, extremely hot sun beating upon his head. He's sweating, he's tired. The second slide showed that he gets this cola in his hand, the cool drink, it rejuvenates him. And then in the third slide, they show there is a big smile on his face. So the first slide showed that he's morose, distressed, depressed, frustrated because of the heat. The second slide showed him getting the cola and drinking, and the third slide showed him rejuvenated, blissful and happy. And they expected that the sales of the cola will increase, but they found that the sale of the colas was not increasing at all. And they were wondering what's going on. Then they figured out that in Middle East, the language is Arabic, and people do not read left to right, they read right to left. So they were all seeing the advertisement right to left, that the man is blissful, then he is taking the cola, then he is becoming depressed. They reverse their whole view of looking at it. Therefore, dear friends, when we speak about attitude, that's a very important principle, because your attitude will determine your altitude. And therefore, more important, or as important as all of the skills which you're learning, is also your ability to control your attitude and refine your attitude. And so we find this, that learn, practice and improve. Now let's come to the idea of discipline as a recipe of success. Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. Okay. There is another beautiful definition of success as given by Winston Churchill, who says, success is the ability to go from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm. How can you go from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm? I had a friend of mine in IIT, and he was 1 year senior to me. He tried to commit suicide. The suicide attempt failed because the rope from which he was hanging, it broke. So somehow, it was not of high quality, and he survived. Right? It happens like that. We may have our own plans, but not all our plans materialized. One of my other friends, he had gone to the railway track to commit suicide. And he was lying on the railway track, and the train was 6 hours late. He got frustrated and came back. So we may have our own plans. So he had his plan, it failed. I asked him, people are dying to get into IIT, and you are in IIT trying to die. What is going on? So he said, the problem is, all my life, whenever I set my eyes on a goal, I achieved it. And this time, for the first time, I could not get the gold medal. I'm getting the silver medal. Although for most people it is fine, but for me, it is excruciating. I cannot take it. Therefore, I realized that there is another world within us, the world of our expectations, the world of our desires. And stress is defined as the gap between expectation and reality. Then I found that in the same campus, I had 4 or 5 of my other friends who had failed in 3 to 4 subjects, and they were moving around the campus blissfully, happily, in fact even encouraging others. So I was totally bewildered. So I asked them, how come you guys are not at all stressed out? You're looking blissful, peaceful, you are failed in 3-4 subjects. They said, our philosophy in life is very simple. Entering college is our job, taking us out of college is college's job. So they had their own take to how life should turn out to be. I remember in IIT we had brought out a t-shirt in one of our hostels, and one of those funny t-shirts, it took from the original Robert Frost's saying, the woods are lovely, dark and deep, and there are promises to keep but miles to go. So the front part of the t-shirt showed the woods are lovely, dark and deep, and the back side of the t-shirt showed a guy on a hammock saying, but I prefer to sleep. So we find that unless there is this attitude of discipline, we cannot refine whatever talent we have. Arjuna is a great example. Dronacharya had given a standing order that Arjuna should never be given food in the dark. Why? One day Arjuna was eating, and then suddenly there was a gust of wind which blew, and the lamp, it blew away. It became pitch dark. Arjuna continued eating. Arjuna started thinking, it is dark, I can't see anything, I can't see anyone, but still I am able to eat. If I can eat in the dark, why cannot I practice in the dark? So that was Arjuna's take. And from that day onwards, Arjuna started practicing all through the day and all through the night. And Arjuna thus got the name Gudakesh, one who had conquered sleep. Therefore, dear friends, when it comes to any field, say for example sports, practicing, very important. Most of you are connected to business. As sir beautifully explained, you have strategic goals, pursue them. When it comes to arts, you have to persevere. And then, most importantly, when you come to parenting, you need patience. I'll tell a beautiful story of a handicapped person, a boy who lost one hand in an accident. And he only had his right hand and his left hand was not there. It was cut. But still he had the desire to do something extraordinary. He enrolled himself in judo classes. The judo teacher trained him in just one step for a long, long time. And then he enrolled him in a World Cup competition. And nobody believed that this guy would do anything. And then finally, he went into the finals and he won the gold medal. Even this boy himself was bewildered. He asked the teacher, with one hand, how did I win the gold medal? With being trained only in one step, which you have taught me. So the teacher told him that, my dear boy, the one step which I taught you is one of the most lethal steps in judo. And there is only one known defense for this one step which I have taught. For that, the opponent has to grab hold of your left hand and you don't have one. So what was actually a handicap turned out to his advantage. And therefore, it's extremely important to know that many times we do not see what we have. We are always bothered by what we don't have. And thus, we don't even capitalize on what we have. Typical example in parenting. Every father and mother want their son to be an Einstein or a Newton. Okay. So one of the biggest challenges is how to be patient. So there is this, father teaching his son mathematics, and he asked the son, beta, how much is 9 multiplied by 8? So the son says confidently, 78. The father says, excellent, wonderful, take this cookie. And the father's friend says, hey, what kind of mathematics you are teaching your son? 9 into 8 is not 78, it is 72. Father said, I know that. Yesterday I asked him the same question, 9 into 8, he said 88. Today he has come to 78, in a few days he will come to 72. So if we are always bothered about what we don't have in our circle of concern, we will lose control over our circle of influence. And therefore it's extremely important to know that we have to begin with a few simple disciplines over which we have control. And then we have to practice them. And that's the most important principle being spoken here. So the question arises, we must all suffer from 2 points, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. But the difference between the two is very important. What's the difference? That the pain of regret and the pain of discipline are both in 2 different dimensions. Why? Because to discipline yourself, you will have to push yourself, but it weighs ounces, whereas the weight of regret is in tons. So therefore, which is better? To go through discipline or to go through regret? I was doing a beautiful program in one of the corporations in the West. And I was talking to the HR person there, and he was telling me, I was asking him, why there are so many Indians here? And he said, Indians have a certain kind of resilience. They have a certain innate ability to think out of the box. They deal with so many problems. To solve those problems, they push themselves. Because many times we think problems are not good. But then when we deal with problems, it forces us to another level. And therefore, we are forced to think out of the box, forced to be creative, and then we come up with something extraordinary. I was traveling in a train, and there was a friend from New York with me, and then the fan under which we were sitting in that second class compartment was not working. So there were a couple of people sitting in front of me. They took out their comb, because I don't carry one. So they took out the comb, and then he started moving that fan, and his other friend started switching on and off, and the fan started moving. This is something common which all of us have seen, but my friend from New York was so astonished, he took out his camera and he said, I must click a photo of this. And he said, what is this? I said, this is traditional Indian technology. And one of the Harvard professors, he wrote a whole theory on how that all over the world the economy is going down. In India it's going up. And he called it the Jugaad theory. There is a certain kind of resilience. When you are pushed against the corner, you think out of the box and come up with something which is extraordinary. I was traveling to Kharagpur for a program at IIT. I landed at Kolkata airport. It happened to be Bengal Bandh. I was having two other friends with me from America, and as I came out of the airport, I was welcomed with garlands. So I told my friends, so today it is Bengal Bandh, we have to travel 3 hours to Kharagpur, vehicles don't move, so I think the program is cancelled. They said, no, program is on. I said, but how will we drive? They said, we have come to pick you up in an ambulance. Out of the box thinking. So as we were getting into the ambulance, I was sitting in front, my colleagues from America were sitting in the back, they were bewildered. They asked me, why are we going in an ambulance? I said, it's a long story. Even if something happens, don't worry, we are in the right vehicle. As we were moving, people were stopping us, saying that, no, you can't go, and I was giving, some explanation. We were moving. At one point, someone stopped us and said, I want to check who's in the back. And my two colleagues, after eating breakfast, with garlands around their neck, were sleeping peacefully. So this gentleman looked inside and said, may their souls rest in peace. Go ahead. And within 3 hours, I reached. So therefore, we should know that when we face problems, when we face difficulties, we may think, okay, is it worth following some discipline? Is it worth doing something which is going to really change the course of my life? Yes, because if we do not do that, we will be overwhelmed by what is known as the pain of regret. And thus, the cycle of destiny is the thoughts become words, the words become action, the actions become habits. When you repeat those actions over a cycle, that habit becomes your character, and that becomes your destiny. So dear friends, it's extremely important for us to know that everything begins with those thoughts. And one of the biggest challenges we are facing in today's day and age is there is an information overload. People are having difficult time experiencing satisfaction because whatever you may do, someone else is doing better, and the internet is bombarding us with all that information. So at the end of the day, the guy feels, am I something? So therefore, this is a big sociological issue which the whole world is facing. And this principle of competition, of trying to outdo others, and trying to really establish that what I am doing is something great, it inhibits a person's ability to focus on what he can really bring to the table in the best possible manner. And that's a very important principle. Like for example, there is a hotel in Mumbai, it's called Hotel President. It's a 5-star hotel. And then if you have to eat there, you really need to spend a lot. And then most people, who do not have those resources, they cannot enter that hotel and they cannot afford to eat there. Taking advantage of this, one fruit vendor and one vada vendor, he put up a stall for vadas just outside that Hotel President on a hand cart, on a thela gadi, and he was selling vadas, and he called that hand cart Hotel Vice President. And his marketing pitch was, if you can't afford the president, come to the vice president. So dear friends, if we analyze and introspect the day and age we are living in today with respect to what was there 50 years ago, one of the biggest changes we are experiencing is competition, envy, dissatisfaction, anger, the desire to somehow do something which I cannot do or try to do something which is not natural for me is so powerful and so overwhelming that a person does not have the patience to invest in a discipline which comes natural to him, which is gifted to him, in which he can actually do amazing things. So therefore, we should first realize that everything begins with a thought, and our thoughts must be focused on what is the best way in which we can serve society. I can use my skills to add value in society. I can use my abilities to do something for the society. And 23 years ago, I decided that although I am coming from IIT background, I will use my skills in a way to enhance value in society. And then I was teaching the Bhagavad Gita, and then 7 years ago I got an opportunity to transform a small village in Maharashtra, 100 kilometers north of Mumbai. And we are happy to see that when there is intelligence, when there is inspiration, when there is integrity, a few youth can create massive transformation in any remote village in India. And practically speaking, there are 700,000 villages in India, and 70% of India lives in villages. And therefore, dear friends, it becomes extremely important for us to analyze, understand, and invest our energies to think not just what I should do for myself, but what I should do in a way that I can help others also. And therefore, the recipe for happiness comes in two things: gratitude and service attitude. And when we add that in our life, our entire thought process becomes imbued with selflessness, our words become filled with power, and our actions become transformation for others. And in this way, we change not only our own individual destinies, but the destinies of others. And I'm happy to share with you that we have adopted more than 25 villages across that particular eco-village, and we are bringing a lot of hope and succor to all of those villagers. So this is a beautiful verse from the Gita on the discipline of thoughts. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Mana prasada saumyatvam, satisfaction, non-duplicitousness, non-interference, self-restraint and purification of one's existence. So therefore it is described, Mana eva karanam manushyanam moksha bandhayoho, that mind by itself is a thing which can create hell out of heaven or heaven out of hell. I'll give you the example of Ravana. Ravana had practically everything which was available. But still, what was Ravana's biggest problem? Ravana felt, I need something which someone else's have. And therefore, Prasida Lankeshwara Rakshasendra Lankam Prayacha Bhavasadu Gacha. Tvam Sveshu Dareshu Ramasva Nityam Ramas Sabharyam Ramatam Muneshu. Marich gave him the advice, Ravana, you have everything. Just optimize what you have. Don't look in the wrong direction. There is enough within the boundary of ethics to satisfy yourself. But Ravana stepped over that boundary. And he goes to Vibhishana's house. And in Vibhishana's house, Ravana sees that in every wall, Vibhishana had written Ram Nam, Rama, 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 Rama is written everywhere. Ravana becomes angry like fire. He looks at Vibhishana and says, nonsense! How dare you insult me by writing the name of my enemy on every wall? You don't know who I am? You don't know who Ram is? He's my enemy? How can you dare to do such a thing in Lanka? Vibhishana said, relax, relax. Don't shout too much. So Vibhishana is a master in communication. So this is a great lesson in communication. So Vibhishana looks at Ravana and says, my dear Ravan, what you see here written on the walls, Rama, 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 has another interpretation, not what you may be thinking. Ravana said, what other interpretation? Vibhishana said, the Ra stands for Ravana, Ma stands for Mandodari. This is your name and Mandodari's name. Rama, Rama, Rama. Ravana became ecstatic. And he went and announced in whole Lanka, every wall should be filled with Ram Nam. This is the example of how, if we master the art of communication, even those who are not with us, we make them join our own forces. And in this way we will find that the discipline of thought is extremely important, because till the thoughts are disciplined, we will be unable to restrain ourselves. I was doing a program in what is known as the college, Athens College in Ohio, in America. And I was talking to one boy, and he was speaking to me in fluent Hindi. Okay, so I'm sharing this story to let you know that how, when we do not have discipline in thoughts, we really do not have discipline in any of our relationships, and then the relationships break, and we find the biggest challenge today is family as an institution is breaking apart. And therefore, when we are speaking of investment, we should know that all of the investments which you are making is ultimately so that you can satisfy your family and you can keep that love and relationship together. So I was talking to this boy, he was speaking in Hindi, and I said, how are you American? He said, yes. How you are speaking Hindi? He said, my father was a multi-millionaire and he gave me everything. But at the age of 17, I asked my father, Dad, you gave me everything in life, but I do not experience the satisfaction because you were divorced. And therefore, I'm just thinking, what is the meaning of family? I experience some dissatisfaction, emptiness. I want to experience what is family, what it means to sit with a brother and sister, with father and mother and eat food together. What is that experience? Father said, hey, I'm too old for that. If you want to experience that, there is practically only one country in the whole world where that institution is still secure, that is India. Please go there. So he traveled all the way, came to one of the cities in North India, and then he approached one family and said that please allow me to stay in your family for 2 years and experience what it means to be part of a family, and if you allow me to experience that, I will give you a rent of 1 lakh rupees every month. That family was ecstatic. They said, stay beyond 2 years, stay whole life. No problem. And then they also said, if you have other friends who want to experience that, bring them also. We are willing to give everyone that experience. The point is that we are focusing a lot on so many other things. If we do not have overall discipline in our own lives in investing time and energy with those with whom we want to forge quality relationships, then you will find that their growth in your life will be in a wrong and odd direction. Therefore, there needs to be an overall discipline in your professional, your emotional, your family, and your social relationships. And therefore, the discipline of words is extremely important. Anudvegakaram vakyam satyam priya hitam chayat swadhyayabhyasanam chaiva vangmayam tapa uchyate. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that the words which are truthful, pleasing, beneficial, not agitating, and based on authoritative sources. It's very important. So as we see that words have the power to please and words have the power to agitate. And therefore, we need to speak in a way that we are not creating that agitation. As you know, we have seen in our own country in the past that the very fabric of hospitality has been based on pleasing words, on politeness, on humility. When Krishna is in Vrindavan and he is traveling with his cowherd boyfriends, he shows them the trees of Vrindavan and he says, Pashyadaitan mahabhagan parasyaikanta jivitan vata varsha atapahiman sahanto varayantina. Krishna glorifies the trees and he says, I consider these trees to be extremely elevated. Why? Parasya aikanta jivitan. They live for others' benefit. The very cause and reason for their existence is to serve. And therefore, they are tolerating all kinds of attacks on themselves while giving shelter to others. Therefore, a leader who has influence over others, a leader, member of a family, he may be a father, a mother, a corporate head, a financial consultant, anyone who has some degree of influence is a leader. And this discipline of words is extremely important for each and every leader to be effective in the long run, because the equity of leadership is trust. And if we do not have proper speech, people over whom we would love to have influence will no longer trust us. And if they do not trust us, it is practically impossible for us to fructify our dreams into reality. There is the story of this very humble mendicant who's traveling house to house begging. So he comes to this lady and then he knocks on the door. The lady of the house opens and he says, please, can I have some alms? So the lady of the house is not in a very good mood. She runs inside the house. She gets all of this ash, which you know from the sigri or the chulha, the charcoal based wood stove, wood fire stove or a charcoal based stove. And then all of that ash she picks up, brings it and throws it into the chadar of this mendicant and says, you want some donation, right? You want some alms? This is it. Take it and get lost. With great humility and a pleasant voice, this beggar, he says, thank you so much, mother. I will come again tomorrow. And she becomes very alarmed. She says, oh, I have given you all this ash. Still you will come again tomorrow? I have given you something useless. Still you will come tomorrow? He says, mother, all I can see that today you have at least begun the task of giving. Today you have begun the habit of giving. Today you are giving me ash. Tomorrow you will give cash. So he is looking at this in a very positive way. And therefore, friends, as I said, Kritagya kono seveta duraradhyam asadubhi. The word gratitude in English, the origin of that is the Sanskrit word called Kritagya. Kritagya, gya means to remember, and Krita means what someone has done. So one of the influences of the bad memory in this age is we no longer suffer from loss of data, loss of information, but the biggest loss is we no longer remember who has done what for us in the long run. And therefore, this has a direct influence and impact on relationships, and therefore there is always the discrepancy of someone who wants to remember and someone who wants to forget. This remembrance and forgetfulness dilemma is the biggest challenge in relationship, because in a friction between two people, one of the person wants to forget the old incident, the other person wants to remember the old incident, and because of this, although there is a desire to forge a positive, noble relationship, it doesn't happen. And many times the dilemma is over certain harsh words which have been spoken in the past. And therefore, Krishna very beautifully is explaining here, Anudvegakaram vakyam satyam priya hitam chayat swadhyaya abhyasanam chahiva vangmayam tapa uchyate. So this is the discipline of words. And then in the end, we come to what is known as the discipline of actions. And for your information, this is one of the most important principles as described in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, on how to lead a disciplined life, the discipline of action. Yuktahara viharasya yukta cheshtasya karmasu yukta swapnavabodhasya yogo bhavati dukkhaha. So, regulation in habits of eating, sleeping, recreation and work. All of this needs to be regulated, and this discipline is extremely important. So therefore, dear friends, we find that on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, there are these Kauravas and there are these Pandavas. There were a total of 64 crore soldiers who were standing there, 18 Akshahini divisions. And then you may wonder why this battle was happening and what is the relevance of this topic in my life. Let me tell you, AIDS, cancer, any other kind of disease caused by bacteria or virus has not killed 64 crore people in 18 days. No known epidemic in modern times has killed 64 crore people in 18 days. So what was the virus which killed so many people? It was the virus of envy in the heart of Duryodhan. And Duryodhan, the name means one who has dedicated his life fighting for the wrong cause. Duryodhan. And therefore, it was not that Duryodhan had any problem in his administrative abilities. It was not that there was any kind of economic collapse in Hastinapur. It was not that anyone denied Duryodhan any of his basic facilities or his rule over his kingdom. Duryodhan had a disease in the heart by which he could not tolerate Yudhishthir and the Pandavas being more successful than him, being more powerful, more influential, more popular than him. And dear friends, unfortunately, there is no material remedy available for this envy in the heart. And because Duryodhan was experiencing this envy so strongly, in spite of the fact that the Pandavas requested, just give us 5 villages, that is sufficient. But Duryodhan was afraid, if I give 5 villages to Yudhishthir, the whole world will desert all their towns and come in those 5 villages. So therefore, Duryodhan was experiencing this. Therefore, dear friends, what is the difference between health and happiness? Disease-free body is called healthy, and disease-free mind is called happy. Disease-free mind is called happy. So just like a computer has a hard disk and the external screen, if we simply try to decorate that screen to the best possible manner, but if the hard disk is virus infected, then there is no point, it will crash. So we are doing everything within our power to make sure that our education, our skills, our externals are really improving to the best possible extent. But are we doing sufficient to make sure that the hard disk of the mind is free from the virus? And these viruses are identified as Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsar. And that is the discipline which we are talking about, that these inspire various kinds of actions which are detrimental to our own selves. Just like in Las Vegas, there is one hospital, and this is a true story from there. So Las Vegas is famous for gambling, and people are really into it. And so there were these phenomena where they found that terminally ill patients, they are dying before time, and they couldn't figure out why. And they did a probe and found out that the nurses who were on duty, these nurses, they became addicted to gambling in all the casinos. But the addiction is such that even when they are not in the casinos, they are in the hospital on duty, they developed a desire to gamble on the patients. And they were gambling which patient will go first, bed number 12 or bed number 13. And they were placing bets on that. And then as the stakes went on increasing, as they thought we are going to lose money, they actually started switching off the life support systems. So what began as an innocent, simple game, the power of habit is such that you do not know where it is leading you. So dear friends, it's extremely important for us to know that if wealth is lost, they say, I don't know whether it is appropriate in this forum to say that, right? Nothing is lost. If health is lost, something is lost. But if character is lost, everything is lost. So therefore, it's very important for me to communicate to all of you that for all of you, in the long run, to really prosper in every possible way, nothing works better than having a high degree of credibility and trust. And therefore, it is my duty to share with you these golden words of wisdom from our ancient sources, from the Gita, from the Bhagavatam, from the Ramayana, from the Mahabharata. Why all of these stories are spoken about? Ram is saying, I am the God of the universe. Krishna is saying, I am the God of the universe. But still, they are in situations where they are surrounded by their own family and they are unable to do anything about it. So in our temple, when we have thousands of people standing in line for prasadam, people are in anxiety, will I get food or not? But more in anxiety are those who are serving the food, because they are thinking we will get food only after these 2,000 people eat. So many times those who are serving give food little bit, they give sabji little less. And the guys who are eating, they say, tell him to serve sabji, not like chutney. This is sabji. So what do? Make a plate for them in advance and keep it right there. So as they are serving, they keep seeing their plate is there. Then they start serving double amount. And then people are telling them, "Arey, don't give so much, save something for yourself." And they say, "Arey, seva is the real dharma in life." Why does this happen? They get that confidence to invest in that service because they see the future is bright. So therefore, in conclusion, I would simply like to express my gratitude to all of you and inspire you to follow this art of discipline with the full faith that if you follow this discipline at all levels, you should know that your future in every sphere of your life will be bright and successful. Thank you all very much.
Truly enlightening, Swamiji. Thank you so much. Very profound concepts, so easily put across. That's the mark of a genius. Thank you so much.
Swamiji, you were giving away such powerful thoughts with utmost and superb humorous sense. Can we all put our hands together for the amazing speech by Swamiji today? We would like to honor you, and may I request Mr. Satyanarayanan Yanmantran to kindly come on stage and present a memento and a gift.
One second.
One second. Can we put our hands together?
Swamiji,
Only one question. We are running short
only
on
one
time.
question, only a simple question.
Swamiji.
Excuse me, Swamiji. I have one question for you. Just kindly tell me, how will you distinguish between the thoughts of an individual from the thoughts of a society? Could you please?
Yeah, thank you. So, society comprises of a whole group of individuals. The Kauravas, who were 100 brothers, generally would have followed whatever would have been the most predominant thought. And unfortunately for them, the most predominant thought came from Duryodhana, who was relentless, who was pushing, he was leading practically the whole dynasty in a certain direction. So it is ultimately the thoughts of an individual which generate some kind of equity and following amongst the masses. So there are actions in the mode of goodness, actions in the mode of passion, and in the mode of ignorance. Depending on which modes a person thinks, you will have a certain kind of following which is attracted. And therefore we find that whatever may be the kind of thought one generates, there is always a group of people who follow. I was giving a program at jail, in Yaravada jail in Pune, and there were these, 500 prisoners who were sitting, life convicts, and some were going to be hanged. One good thing about jail program is audience is guaranteed. So as I was giving a talk, suddenly in the middle of the talk, somebody said, "I want to ask a question." So I said, "Please ask." He said, "I want to ask from the stage." So the Assistant Commissioner of Police Prisons was standing next to me. I asked him, "Who's this?" And then he said, "This fellow has committed 12 murders." I said, "Am I going to be 13th? Why he wants to come on stage?" He said, "No, let him come." So he came on stage, and then, he started asking something philosophical, and all the prisoners were clapping like anything. They thought, we have got Pandit amongst us also. Then I asked this young man that you are only 25 years of age and your life imprisonment. He said, "Yeah, at that moment when I was overwhelmed by anger, I was blinded and I could not think anything else. And therefore I committed the crime and I have to regret it for whole my life. But it is ultimately the thought within which influences the individual destiny. If that individual is given exposure to as many people, depending on how many people he is able to influence, that many people get influenced by those thoughts. So therefore, to create transformation in society, it has to begin by creating transformation at an individual micro level, and in a small way, let us humbly try to do that. Thank you very much.
Swamiji,
Swamiji.
I just request.
Thank you, Swamiji, for taking that question. May we request you to kindly stay on the dais for a minute, please.
We want to honor a few of the partners with whom we have done this event, so it will be great if they can receive their prize from you. Can I request Sendil Murugan of NSC? You know, these are partners who have helped us put this event together, sponsors. So please give a big round of applause. Sendil Murugan of NSC, please come forward to be recognized. They are the silver sponsors, NSC. Ishwar of LIC Mutual Fund. Sriram of IDFC Mutual Fund, the bronze sponsor. Anantaraman of Mirai Mutual Fund, bronze.
Let's give a big hand to all our sponsors.
Prasad of Ivesco. And last but not the least, Basha from Baroda Pioneer.
Thank you, Swamiji, for sharing your valuable time with us.